Hello everyone. So in last video lecture, I talked about I said the word immunohematologic disease. I mean the diseases which are caused due to the cytolytic reaction to uh, the blood cells. Okay. So in this video lecture, we will talk about little details, more details about those immunohematologic diseases. Okay. So as the hematologic diseases occurs because of the cytolytic reactions towards the blood cells. So first we need to understand the blood group system. Okay, so I think you all are, you all know about these blood group systems. However, just for the recap, so there are actually more than 14 human red blood cell systems. Okay, reported till now, which includes 60 different blood group factors. Among them, the ABO and RH systems are most important because they represent the majority of antibodies implicated in transfusion reactions. Okay, uh, other systems, they are less important because because of their low antigenicity or low incompatibility frequency. Okay, so this figure, it shows which blood group contains which antibody and which antigen, such as group A blood group. People of having the group A blood group, they possess anti-B body. Okay, and the antigen is A. Okay, so group B, antigen is B and antibody is anti-A. Group AB, they don't have any antibodies, but they contain both the A and B antigens. And group O, they contain no antigens, but they have both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. Okay, so this was the blood group systems. So now let's start with the diseases. So we actually already know what immunohematologic diseases are. Okay, however, we can define it in this way. So immunohematologic diseases are a broad group of entities in which hematologic diseases, usually cytopenias, reduction in the number of blood cells, are caused by immune reactions. In immunohematologic diseases, usually the number of blood cells decreases because of the immune response. The immune response causes cytolytic reactions which lyse the blood cells. So that's why their number decreases. Okay, and due to this destruction, a different condition can develop. Different disease condition can develop, such as hemolytic anemia, agranulocytosis, or thrombocytopenia. Okay, either separately or in combination. In the same patient, at the same time, two different or three different immunohematologic disease can occur. Okay, so and basically there are different type of immunohematologic diseases. All occurs due to the hemolytic reactions. Okay, the cytolytic reactions towards the blood cells, which causes the lysis of the blood cells, they also are called hemolytic reactions. Okay, and the hemolytic reactions, they can be caused in many different ways. Okay, and the ways are such as due to the transfusion, uh, erythroblastosis fetalis, acquired autoimmune hemolytic diseases, hemolytic reactions to drugs, and due to some other some infectious diseases, for example malaria. Okay, so if someone got malaria, he can also develop uh, immunohematologic disease. Okay, so first, what hemolytic reaction is, we already know. Okay, hemolytic reactions means, in this by these reactions, RBC breaks down. So what happens when the RBC got broken down? Hemoglobin, uh, I mean when the RBC breaks down, the hemoglobin of the RBC, they get released from the RBC. Okay, and it is done by the antibody IgG or IgM. These antibodies, they bound with the RBC Okay, and they sensitize it. Actually, this is called sensitization. Okay, when the antibody bounds with the RBC and bounds with the cells and surround it, this is called sensitization. So in case of hemolytic reactions, the IgG and IgM, this antibody bound with the RBC and sensitize them, and as a result, the complement system get activated. Okay, and eventually the MAC, membrane attack complex, forms, and each creates a hole in the surface of the red blood cells, and because of the formation of the holes, it allows the hemoglobin to escape out from the red blood cells. Okay, and which is actually ultimately lyse the cells. Okay, so in this next two slide, it depicts different type of hemolytic reactions or different ways where hemolytic reactions can occur. So if you see these slides, so the one type is transfusion reaction. Hemolysis can occur because of the transfusion. So you all know blood transfusion, right? People sometimes need to get blood from the donors. So what happens if the transfused blood reacts with the donor's blood to the recipient's blood? So imagine about this situation. Suppose a plus blood donor, he is donating blood to the A O blood recipient. Okay, O group blood recipient. So in case of A plus blood donors, they contain A antigen, right? Okay, but in case of O blood group, they contain anti-A antibody. So what will happen in this case? If A plus blood donor donates blood to the O blood group recipients, so the A antigen containing blood cells will enter into the donor cells into the recipient's body, as the recipient body has anti-A antibody. This anti-A antibody will reacts with the A antigen cells. Okay, and this will cause a immunogenic reactions, that is cytolytic reactions, and eventually the recipient blood cells will get lysed. Okay, and okay, and another scenario where hemolytic reactions occurs is erythroblastosis fetalis. So fetalis, in the name there is fetalis. So basically this occurs in the fetus. Okay, and you know the fetus. Fetus is, when a baby is inside the mother's womb, it is called fetus. So when erythroblastosis fetalis, and in case of erythroblastosis fetalis means lysis of the fetus blood cells. So when it can occur, so imagine this scenario. Suppose a Rh negative mother, okay, and she got pregnant, and the fetus is Rh positive. Mother is Rh negative and fetus is Rh positive. So what will happen in this case? As the fetus is Rh positive, that means it has Rh antigen. So this Rh antigen actually can, some of the Rh antigen, they can cross the placenta and into the mother's body. So mother's is Rh negative, and Rh positive antigen is entering into her body. So what will happen? The mother will develop anti-Rh antibody. Okay, so this anti-Rh antibody can pass, okay, pass to the if this anti-Rh antibody pass to the fetus, then it will destruct the blood cells of the fetus. Okay, so we'll talk about this in more details in some later slides. However, okay, one thing I actually forget to mention here. So here are some word: endogenous antibody, exogenous antibody. So what are this? In this scene, actually, the A plus blood donor is donating blood, that is antigen, to the recipient. So that's why in this scenario, the antigen are exogenous. And who has the antibody? The recipient. So the antibodies are endogenous. Okay, endo means endo. I have this. Exo means from external source. Okay. Okay. So next slide, it contains it shows another two different scenarios where hemolytic reactions occurs. One is autoallergic hemolytic anemia. Okay, what happens in this case? Suppose if I produce antibody against my own blood group, against my own blood cells. Okay, in that case, the antibody will react with my own blood cells and cause lysis of my own blood cells. Okay, so that's why it is called autoallergic hemolytic anemia. Okay, in this case, both the antigen and antibody are endogenous. Okay, I have the antigen, and usually my body should not produce antibody against my own blood cell, right? But it can occur sometimes. So if it occurs, that is the disease condition. Okay, and another cause of hemolytic reactions or scenario or ways of hemolytic reactions is reverse transfusion reaction. Okay, the reverse transfusion reaction is actually the exact opposite of the transfusion reactions. Okay, so what happens in case of transfusion reaction? The donor donates antigen to the recipient. Okay, but in this case, it will be just the opposite. Okay, antibody will come from the donors to the recipient. As you can see, the donor is O group. Okay, so that means the donor has anti-A antibody. So if this person donates blood to this recipient, say A positive recipient, so A positive recipient has antigen A. Okay, so in this case, the incoming anti-A antibody will reacts with the donor's blood cells because the donor's blood cell has A antigen, and this then the donor's blood cells will get sensitized and eventually get lysed through the cytolytic reaction, either MAC formation, membrane attack complex formation, or the ADCC. Okay, and in this case, the antibody is exogenous and the antigen is endogenous. Okay. Okay. Now from the next slide, we'll talk in more details about this reaction. So first, transfusion reactions. Okay, actually, I think you already got the transfusion reactions, so I'll just skip it. Okay, and we'll just talk a little bit about the mechanism of transfusion reaction. So actually, you already know this. I mean, one scenario has been depicted here. Suppose an individual with blood type A. Okay, if he blood type A, he has anti-B antibody, right? If transfusion, if this person is transfused with blood type B, what will happen? The anti-B antibodies will coat type B erythrocytes. I mean, they will interact and coat it. This is called sensitization, and once this sensitization occurs, then they will get lysed either by the MAC formation or by ADCC. Okay, so the MAC formation is called by lysis by complement, or if ADCC occurs, the lysis will occur in the not in the spleen or liver. Okay. Anyway, transfusion reactions, they can be classified into two types. One is immediate transfusion reaction and one is delayed transfusion reactions. So just by the name, actually, you can guess what immediate transfusion reactions. I mean, these reactions will occur immediately after the transfusion, but the delayed transfusion reaction, they will occur later. I mean, maybe after 3 days or 7 days of the transfusion. Okay, so and the immediate transfusion reactions, in this case, the lysis of the blood cells, they can occur intravascularly, that is within the blood cells, arterial veins, or extravascularly, I mean in the liver or the spleen. Okay. So, in case of immediate transfusion reaction, and if the lysis occurs in intravascular hemolysis, where it occurs? It occurs due to the presence of preformed antibodies. That means the immediate transfusion reactions actually will occur if my body already have the antibodies against the incoming or transfused blood cells. Okay, so in this case, the red blood cells get lysed, which release the hemoglobin into the blood circulation. Okay, and then this free hemoglobin get excreted from our body through the urine, or this free hemoglobin, they get bound by some proteins of our body. Which proteins? Albumin, haptoglobin, and hemopexin, and eventually they will get excreted from our body. Okay, and the immediate signs and symptoms of immediate transfusion reactions are like this: shock, fever, flushing, chest pain, difficulty in breathing, hemoglobinuria, that is hemoglobin getting out through the urine, and generalized bleeding. Okay, and eventually even death can occur due to the immediate transfusion reaction, and death usually results from shock, disseminated intravascular coagulation, I mean blood clotting inside our blood vessels, and renal failure. Okay. Okay. In contrary, in case of extravascular hemolysis, this occurs hyperbilirubinemia. Hyperbilirubinemia. That is, the amount of bilirubin get increased in our blood circulatory system. The serum lactic acid dehydrogenase get elevated, and the number of hematocrit get fall. Actually, hematocrit is the packed red blood cells. So if lysis occur, definitely the number of hematocrit get low, because the blood cell itself get lysed. That is, the number is getting low. Okay. And in case of the immediate transfusion reactions, 75% of immediate transfusion reactions occurs in the ABO blood system. Again, because of the ABO blood system. Okay, so this was immediate transfusion reactions. Now the delayed transfusion reaction. Okay, so when the or why the delayed transfusion reaction may occur? So it may occur because of induced of an immune response in the recipient to transfused cells. Okay, but what happens in this case? Suppose, for example, I got blood from a donor, and nothing happens. Okay, I mean, I actually survive, but eventually sometimes my body can produce antibody against this donated blood in some later days, like after 3 days or 14 days. And if this happens, that means if my body produces antibody against the donor's blood cells after 3 to 14 days, then they will cause the lytic reactions, the cytolytic reactions. Okay, and as it's happening in a delayed time from the transfusion date, these are called delayed transfusion reaction. Okay, so now how we can detect the transfusion reactions? I mean, if we want to donate blood, okay, first actually we need to check whether any transfusion reaction can occur. So how usually it is done? By checking the blood group. Okay, so what is the blood group of the donor and recipient? Okay, and by serum screening. So like the serum of the donors is screened to check what kind of anti-lymphocyte antibodies the donor has. Okay, and also by cross matching. I mean, just mix the recipient's blood and the donor's blood and check whether any coagulation occurs. Occurrence of coagulations means, or occurrence of reactions means, there some reaction is happening there. Okay. Okay. However, so suppose after transfusion, we can check whether the transfusion reactions are occurring or not. And how we can check that? By checking this, by counting the RBC, the amount of hemoglobin, hematocrit, bilirubin, or heptaglobin. So if any transfusion reaction occurs after transfusion, RBC count will go down, hemoglobin, hematocrit, and heptaglobin will go down, that is decrease, but the amount of bilirubin will increase. Okay, so if after transfusion and testing we observe these things, then we can say that some transfusion reactions is occurring. Okay.